The 11th verse describes the complete synchronization of the macrocosmic forces before the liberated soul. All the angels were standing around the throne and around the elders and the four living creatures. They fell down on their faces before the throne and worshipped God. To the Gnostic investigator, this scene represents the ultimate harmonization of reality. The countless angelic currents, the 24 keepers of zodiacal time, and the four elemental pillars of nature form a unified geometric circle. They are no longer acting as administrators of karmic tests or barriers within the matrix. By falling down on their faces, these macrocosmic rulers surrender their authority to the supreme monad. This teaches the initiate that when a soul successfully awakens and purifies its energy centers, the entire universe shifts its posture. The planetary forces stop opposing the seeker and instead bow in absolute alignment, welcoming the newly liberated consciousness back into the eternal family of light. The 12th verse introduces the supreme mantric frequency chanted by the unified cosmos, saying, Amen. Praise and glory and wisdom and thanks and honor and power and strength be to our God forever and ever. Amen. In theurgic invocation, this chant acts as a perfect geometric lock. Notice that it opens with Amen and closes with Amen, framing exactly 7 divine attributes. This is the sevenfold chord of absolute creation. By vibrating these specific frequencies, praise, glory, wisdom, thanks, honor, power, and strength, the cosmic hierarchy stabilizes the higher planes. It is the signature of the perfected universe. For the seeker, listening to this celestial symphony aligns the internal chakras with the macrocosmic rays. Duality is completely absorbed by the unmanifested light, and the entire architecture of creation enters a state of permanent, blinding equilibrium that bridges the temporal matrix with the timeless pleroma. The 13th verse shifts the focus back to an internal initiatic dialogue. Then one of the elders asked me, "These in white robes, who are they, and where did they come from?" This question from one of the 24 elders is a classic feature of the ancient mystery schools. The timekeepers of the zodiac already know the answer, but they interrogate the initiate to force an act of conscious awareness. The focus is placed entirely on the white robes, the crystallized, solar vehicles of light. By asking, where do they come from, the cosmic guardian is demanding that John look closely at the origin of these perfected souls. He is inviting the seeker to realize that these radiant beings were not born in the higher dimensions. They are entities who once inhabited the densest, darkest regions of the material matrix, having undergone a radical evolutionary process to earn their garments of immortality. The 14th verse reveals the definitive alchemical secret of human salvation. I answered, "Sir, you know." And he said, "These are they who have come out of the Great Tribulation. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb." To the Gnostic psychologist, the Great Tribulation is the experience of physical incarnation itself, the agonizing friction of the soul trapped in the material world. The phrase, "wash their robes in the blood of the Lamb," is a supreme alchemical paradox. You cannot wash a garment in physical blood to make it white. Esoterically, the blood of the Lamb is the solar prana, the high-frequency vital force of the Christ consciousness. To wash your robes in this blood means to saturate your subtle astral bodies with this pure cosmic current. This fiery energy acts as a universal solvent, burning away the heavy dross and karmic stains of the ego, bleaching your energetic vehicle until it reaches the blinding, white purity of the immortal spirit. The 15th verse describes the permanent state of the integrated initiate. Therefore, they are before the throne of God and serve him day and night in his temple, and he who sits on the throne will shelter them with his presence. To be permanently before the throne means the consciousness has achieved an unshakable stabilization in the highest dimensions. The initiate is no longer subject to the illusions of linear time, symbolized by serving day and night within the internal temple. The promise that the monad will shelter them with his presence translates esotericament into the absolute protection of the divine aura. The supreme source of life envelopes the awakened soul like a multidimensional shield. You are no longer separate from God. You live inside the divine fabric. The matrix can no longer touch you, and the planetary Archons have no more power over your destiny because you have become a permanent citizen of the unmanifested realm of pure light. The 16th verse outlines the absolute liberation from the laws of material lack and suffering. Never again will they hunger. Never again will they thirst. The sun will not beat down on them, nor any scorching heat. In the dense material matrix, hunger and thirst are the driving forces of biological survival and egoic desire, the constant, painful craving for external fulfillment. By achieving gnosis, these lower energetic deficits vanish. The soul is permanently nourished by the internal spring of the spirit. The sun beating down and the scorching heat represent the heavy, burning karmic influences of the planetary spheres and the friction of earthly trials. For the victorious initiate, this cosmic gravity is completely neutralized. The soul enters a state of absolute psychological coolness and peace, forever free from the exhaustion, survival fears, and emotional burnouts that define the slave consciousness of the mundane world. The 17th verse concludes the magnificent chapter with the ultimate promise of emotional restoration. For the Lamb at the center of the throne will be their shepherd. He will lead them to springs of living water, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. The cosmic Lamb, the spiritualized ego, stands at the absolute center of the throne, acting as the internal guide. He leads the initiate to the springs of living water, which in the Hermetic tradition is the Amrita, or the divine elixir of life, the unceasing flow of higher spiritual knowledge and eternal youth. The wiping away of every tear is the final, deep healing of the emotional subconscious mind. The centuries of sorrow, the trauma of multiple reincarnations, and the pain of spiritual isolation are instantly dissolved in the ocean of divine love. The veil of Chapter 7 closes with the initiate fully restored, perfectly sealed, and standing as an immortal, deathless God at the very banks of the cosmic river of life.